Jay still on the beat.
Hell no, hell no, hell no. That boy.
I took a break and I came back fresh. Yeah, I did take a break. I got a lot of reviews to read, so I did take a break. Okay, moving along. Next review is Madame Cocaina. Again, by Fatima Monroe. This was a 4-star book. The cover of the book is very catchy. It exudes mystery and poise. The cover and title together makes you want to grab it and read the summary of the back. Good job on the cover selection. So kudos to choosing a great cover to catch attention and keep attention and make you want to read the synopsis on the back to make you want to purchase this book. The plot of the book was intriguing. The main character is in prison. The book flows okay, but it seems as if some information is missing. I always want to make sure you fill in those gaps. You don't want your readers to question who that is or where that came from. Fill in those gaps. That means put in a background, a past, it might be italics, but give some information so that we don't question. That's why the book was 4-star, because it should have been a 5-star book. But the misinformation leaves readers with questions. Okay? For instance, she went from a child to an adult super fast. The story flowed flawlessly but rather rapidly. Slow down on your transition from children to adult unless you're giving us the first age and you're saying 2 years later or 6 months later or 10 years later. You got to give us something, but it can't go from her being 15 then next you know she's 25. We need to know what happened between 15 and 25 because she had to go through something, unless you're going to say 3 years later. And what I mean by that is, when I think of my book, Chic Allure, in the beginning of the book, I got the beginning of the book, but then what I'm talking about in terms of transitioning is that right there. You see where it says 2 years later? I stopped right there and I went into a whole different life. And that says the present. So that will stop questions from being answered, like where that came from. You got to give more history or give a reason as to why the history is not there. Okay. The main character, Josephina, or Juju, was locked in the penitentiary. She's relaying the story of how she ended up there and why she was there. She was born into a family of kingpins. She was thrown and thrust into the role of the queen pin and accepted it with open arms. She ran the streets with an iron fist. She seemed to have a lock on prison itself. She fell in love with her first crush. They had a baby. Assumed that she would slow her down, but it only made her go harder. So the book had great spelling and punctuation, no errors. A few errors, but not ones that made you not want to read the book. And this book we would recommend it to all fellow readers, families, and friends. So next time, Fatima, just watch out on that editing. Make sure those spelling and grammars and punctuation is caught correctly. Because if you don't want to place it to review and then place it on Amazon, because it'll stop somebody else who's a stickler for grammar and spelling, you'll stop them from reading your book. Like I said, what I do is have review readers come behind me and read it before I publish it, asking them do they catch the mistakes, and then once it's published, have another whole different reviewer review it and tell me look for those issues again, and this time mark the pages. So look into somebody reading behind you as you write and go chapter for chapter to make sure they catch those mistakes. I also use my twin sister Milan as my second set of eyes. Every chapter I read, I might pass to her, and how I'll write it, she'll write it differently. Okay? Moving along, it's my sister Milan. She's so crazy. Moving along to our next review by Arthur Onyé. Wife of a Kingpin. A lot of kingpins, a lot of drug dealers, a lot of things going on in these urban genre books. So big ups to Urban Authors. So this is a Wife of a Kingpin by Onyé. It received 3 stars. The story was interesting but kind of expected. I'm still going to read book 2 because I want to see what's up with Mr. Steal Your Wife James and which brother will kill him first. The story flowed averagely. Poor editing would have helped fill in the blanks and develop the story more so it flowed better. Editing would have provided section breaks into the next scene or different character thoughts and feelings. At times I became confused thinking I was reading about Camille, but it turned out to be about James and Mark. Again, pulling characters into a scene and throwing characters into a story, you have got to be very good at that because readers will try to figure out where the green lamp came from in a dark living room if you never talked about it before. What I mean by that is I'm going to ask that Arthur, well, who is Sarah? And what's her role? If you didn't give me background on Sarah and why she had a purpose in this book, okay? Just keep that in mind. Because readers catch everything. Okay, and the prologue of the book foreshadowed the story by showing who one of the villains were before allowing the story to reveal it. Be careful on that because part of that prologue could have been changed differently before it revealed who that was. It could have stopped right there and said to be continued or go back in time and then let us get to that point in the story. Let us figure out who the villain is. Don't tell us because then the mystery is taken away. And part of the mystery was taken away from that. The biggest negative was so many spelling errors. It was a lot of spelling errors in this book. So many that it was actually very distracting. Editing. If this book had been edited, it would have not read like this and would have received 5 stars. The paragraphs were too long, and where I looked for a paragraph break, it was more like a long conversation with no end. Formatting the books is very important. We've been reading books for too long to try to come up with our own formats, authors. We have got to format the correct way because book breaks, paragraph breaks, and all that it's going to help the flow of the story. And the paperback, you do not want to get a paperback that's like a run-on sentence throughout, okay? You might think that that's small and all that stuff, but that is the format of a book. The paragraph breaks. We have to, even in conversations should not run on into the same paragraph. It needs to be a break so we know who is talking and who is answering. Okay. The cover art was simple, nothing too misleading or spectacular about it. It doesn't throw the story title or at any time. Overall, the story kept the attention of the reviewer and entertainment. To tell this book was not meant to be a series by the prologue, so it seemed as if it was pulled into a series. It should have been a one book standalone, and I'm sure it would have did just as well as opposed to prolonging it into a series. Hopefully, the next book will hold the same attention as this. Stories should be better edited, and longer paragraphs should be broken down. Again, editing. If you have to find an outside editor, you're first. Shelby Lazenby is an editor. Jasmine Devonish is an editor, and Arthur Milan is an editor. There are editors. Please have your books edited because having a review about bad edits does not look good for somebody to come behind you and read that story. Keep up the good work and add more background to the character development and keep giving us great stories. Again, I always want to know some background on the authors. If you have to put it in italicized, put it in a paragraph, parentheses, something, we need to have as much information as we can so in our mind we can fill in our own gaps and holes. Okay? So 3-star review, Anya. Moving along to Breathless by Shani Green Dowdell. This was a interracial love story, romance story. It received 4 stars. 4 stars. That's the cover. That's not the cover. That's the cover. The glare might be too bright. I'm gonna have to deal with the glare. Give me a moment. I'm back. The cover. Oh. Okay, the cover. Okay, so Breathless, In Love with the Alpha Billionaire by Shani Green Dowdell. 4-star book, 4-star review. The beginning of the book had my attention as soon as I read the first few words. The story was very believable, and I felt like I could identify with the characters. There wasn't too many grammatical errors that made it hard to read and understand. Big ups, Shani. Just make sure that you catch the small ones that were there. Test readers, again, full editing will help things of that nature. Another thing that caught my eye was this book was the cover. I love that the cover had a fresh look to it. I'm sure that a lot of readers looked at the cover and instantly were intrigued by the story, and she's right. That is I don't have the full thing, but that's a very intriguing cover, and it does make somebody who loves interracial stories want to grab it ASAP. One of the things that I didn't like was that the title claimed that Jacob was an alpha male, but he was clearly the opposite type. Carefully describe your characters because reviewers and readers will catch that, and they will not like that. And that's why a lot of reviews are not left, because people don't want to be mean. We don't want mean reviews. We don't want to give a reason for a person to give a 1 star or 2 stars. So if we're going to... Okay. So, yeah. So they were getting back to this review. The story read well. Got me up here researching how to be a cam model. Definitely trying to figure out how much income I can gross from being a cam model, because this book's character made a lot of money as a cam model. The cover art isn't too sexualized and inappropriate, so it leaves much to the imagination. And when you catch the title, Fooling Around, it's exactly that. They in there fooling around. Okay, the players in this book were fooling around. It was a shame that Rain was crossed in the manner that she was, because she was definitely crossed. Y'all got to read how she was crossed. It's just sickening. Like Rain, many women give up on love and blame every guy after heartbreak because of vulnerability. Phoenix did a great job connecting the characters and developing a sound plot. Oh, but the subplot. Phoenix, she's a gift. I can't wait for book 2, because Soraya and Jax, and I think that's who it is, Jax, they got some explaining to do. So great job, Phoenix. The book reviewers approved. If it hadn't been for those minor issues, this would have been a 5-star book, baby. Trust me. Okay, next review is going to be for my own book, Blood In, Blood Out, Buffy and Butler's Saga. That is a follow-up to my series, Dope Doe in a Dream. It was reviewed by one of the reviewers. It was a 5-star book. Can't turn a hoe into a housewife. This story is steady-paced and so full of raw drama and lust, you can't wait to see what happens next. I love the cover because the picture alone gives you a mental vision of what you're reading. Buffy finally escapes her old lifestyle of stripping, tricking, but more importantly, her abusive boyfriend, Cheddar. After pulling Butler, the man she was determined to get, she is finally able to upgrade and live the life that she always wanted to live. Excuse me. Can Buffy live the life of a housewife, or will she fall back into the streets and lose it? Find out in this Cocaine original. 5-star review. If you all read Dope in the Dream series, y'all know exactly how dumb Buffy was for Cheddar, how Cheddar disrespected her, and how Butler came in and saved the day. Don't miss this follow-up story standalone to see exactly what happens in the lives of Buffy and Butler. 5-star review. The next story right now, after that, no more. So those are all our reviews for this session today. I want to thank all of the authors personally for sending in their books and believing in the review team. That's myself. That's going to be Arthur Anye, Arthur Phoenix Williams. We're going to have Shani Green Dowdell. We're going to have Fatima Monroe on several books. We're going to have Phoenix Williams. We're going to have T.S. Brumsey. We're going to have Mel B, K.K. Harris, 7 Steps, J.B. Vemple, as well as Olivia Shaw and Yashika Lachey. Thank you all for sending your books in to the reviewers for your reviews. Thank you for liking our reviews. Thank you for sharing our service. We appreciate everything that we are trying to do with you all, that you all believe in and trusting us to do. We're not going nowhere. I just want to make that very clear. The book reviewers aren't going nowhere. The reviewers alone, the team is too important to authors and businesses right now. In a couple of months, we'll be opening up our genres to all genres. Right now, again, we're doing urban everything. That's sci-fi, that's horror, that's erotica, that's street lit, that's women's book. Anything urban, we're doing it. Okay, all Black authors, we want you to submit your books. If you don't believe in this service, just watch how it takes off. We also have promotional packages available starting at $15. Don't miss out getting your book reviewed and getting the review promoted so that other readers can come along, readers that you didn't even know existed. Again, I am Arthur Cocaine, representing Reviewers Galore, aka the book reviewers. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day.